It started on a Tuesday. Not the kind you mark on a calendar. Nothing loud. No shattering glass. Just a quiet fracture like a hairline crack in a windshield you only see when the sun hits it wrong. I had been gone for exactly 32 hours. A client meeting up north, one hotel night, back by noon. Barely enough time to miss anyone. She kissed me goodbye Monday morning in her oversized sweater and bare feet, sipping coffee with almond milk. That sweater used to be mine years ago until it shrunk in the wash. She'd worn it like armor ever since. We were still in that stage where things felt settled. Or at least I thought we were. The house smelled like citrus cleaner when I walked in, her usual overkill when she had the place to herself. I dropped my bag in the hallway and slid off my shoes. Everything looked exactly as I left it. That's what unsettled me in retrospect. It was too perfect. No signs of her moving through the space. No coffee cup on the counter. No throw blanket on the couch. Just silence. Clean, deliberate silence. I went upstairs, needing a shave before my next Zoom call. My razor was in the second drawer of the bathroom vanity, right side, always. I pulled it open out of muscle memory. That's when I saw it. A second toothbrush. Not hers. And definitely not mine. It was a deep forest green, resting parallel to her soft pink brush like a deliberate twin. The kind you don't buy in a rush. That finish, narrow head. Expensive. European looking. The bristles were slightly frayed at the edges, not fresh, not forgotten. Used. Recently. At first, my brain tried to explain it. A spare? One of hers? But no. She changed toothbrushes religiously, every 3 months, always the same brand. This one was foreign to the drawer. Foreign to this house. To us. But it wasn't hidden, that's what made my skin go cold. It wasn't shoved into the back, tucked behind skincare products, or left carelessly behind. It was placed. Symmetrically. Deliberately. It had a position in the drawer. I didn't reach for the razor. I just stood there. Let the moment hang. She had a routine. When I was away, she called me every night like clockwork. Said she missed me. We even laughed about how clingy we become. She sent me a photo yesterday, a mirror selfie in the gym locker room. Sports bra, ponytail, smirk. I told her she looked incredible. She said she couldn't wait for me to come home. That picture was taken 3 hours before someone else stood in our bathroom brushing their teeth. I didn't panic. I didn't yell. I didn't even touch the damn thing. I just stared. Felt the way reality folds when something impossible sits right in front of you. Like a crack in a painting that shouldn't be there, but once you see it, it's all you can look at. It wasn't jealousy I felt. Not anger. It was precision. Cold, surgical realization. Like someone had inserted a scalpel between my ribs and twisted, not out of rage, but technique. I heard the garage door go up. Her timing, always flawless. She walked in humming something. Dropped her bag. Called my name. I didn't answer. I closed the drawer gently, no drama. No slam. Then I turned on the faucet and let the water run just to hear something else for a second. She climbed the stairs, light on her feet, and leaned in the doorway. There's my man, she smiled. I looked at her. Really looked. Hair tied back. Skin flushed. Slightly damp around the collar of that same sweater. She moved toward me and wrapped her arms around my waist like nothing had changed. Like the air between us didn't smell faintly of someone else's cologne, subtle like a shadow you almost miss. I kissed her forehead. Said nothing. Because I already knew. And knowing, that was the quiet part. The terrifying part. The part that made the walls feel too close. Because now it wasn't a suspicion. It was a certainty with a forest green toothbrush. And she had no idea I'd seen it. Not yet. But she would. She would. It didn't fall apart all at once. That would have been easier louder. Instead, it stretched. Drew thin. The space between us became something elastic, pulling at the edges of what we used to be until even breathing near her felt like trespass. At first, it was easy to pretend. She still kissed me in the morning. Still asked how my day was. But her questions came too fast, like checking boxes. She smiled often, too often, wide and practiced, like she was playing herself in a commercial about love. But I watched her eyes. And her eyes were never in it. She started going to bed earlier than me. Trying to fix my sleep schedule, she'd say with a laugh that didn't touch anything inside her. She used to wait up. We used to talk even when there was nothing to say. Now, I'd come into the bedroom an hour later and she'd be facing the wall, breathing steady. Too steady. One time I stood there for a minute just watching her back. She didn't move. But I swear her eyes were open. Little things went missing. Not items, moments. She used to remember the tiny pieces of our life. Like how I hated cilantro. Or how I can't sleep if the closet door's ajar. One night, she ordered takeout and the tacos came loaded with cilantro. I said nothing. Ate in silence while she scrolled her phone. The closet door stayed wide open that night. She used to close it for me without thinking. Now, it stayed open like a dare. Her phone was the first thing I noticed. It started staying face down, always. Never vibrated. She used to leave it everywhere, kitchen, bathroom, couch, like someone with nothing to hide. Now it was always with her. Tucked into her pocket when she got up. Clutched in her hand while brushing her teeth. She set a new lock screen pattern, said it was for privacy. I asked if something happened. She smiled. No. Just setting some boundaries. It's healthy. That word again. Boundaries. It started showing up in her mouth like it was part of a script she'd just been handed. Suddenly everything was about growth. Self-care. Space. But I was never in that space. Not once. I was the static in the background while she rewrote her life in real time. I didn't say anything. I just listened. Watched. She started going to yoga twice a week. Different times. Different studios. Once she mentioned a new instructor by name Eli. The next week she called him Elliot. The week after it was Elle, then the new girl. She couldn't keep the lie consistent because she never thought I was paying attention. She was wrong. One evening she forgot her phone on the coffee table when she went to shower. I didn't touch it at first. I just looked at it. It lit up once, no name. Just a notification, let me know when he's gone. I didn't breathe. Just stared. But I didn't unlock it. I couldn't. Not because I didn't want to, because I knew she changed the password. She wanted me to try. Wanted to catch me snooping so she could flip the narrative. Turn my suspicion into her moral high ground. When she came back, towel around her hair, she froze for a half second seeing the phone untouched. Then smiled. Too sweet. Everything okay? She asked, drying her ears. I nodded. Yeah. Just tired. She leaned down to kiss my forehead. Her skin smelled like lavender and a hint of something unfamiliar. Not her usual. Not ours. She went upstairs and I heard the door lock. Our bedroom. She never used to lock it. We didn't even talk about locking doors in this house. We used to be safe inside each other. Now I was locked out of rooms I used to own. A few days later, I checked our shared calendar. She'd stopped updating it. Her schedule was empty, but her life wasn't. She was always out. Always somewhere. One night she said she was at a new cafe with her book club. I drove past it out of instinct, not intention. The place was closed for renovations. Still, I said nothing. But then came the false peak. A voicemail. Missed call. From a number I didn't recognize. I played it on speaker alone in the kitchen. A male voice, casual, low. Hey, I'm outside. Let me know if it's still safe to come in. That was it. No name. No context. Just the final thread pulled tight. I sat there staring at the screen. Not shocked. Not even angry. Just, still. Like I was outside my own body. I didn't delete it. Didn't bring it up. When she got home, I asked how her day was. She told me it was peaceful. That word again. Everything she said now sounded like it had been workshopped. I watched her that night as she cleaned up dinner, humming to herself, moving like a woman with no idea she was already exposed. Like someone who believed the story she was telling so deeply she'd forgotten it was a lie. She didn't know the difference anymore. But I did. I didn't believe her. Not even a little. I was done believing. Now I was just watching. And waiting. It was the receipts that did it. Not the kind you find crumpled in pockets or stuffed in a purse, but the ones that arrive by email, digital, time-stamped, inescapable. We shared an account for a food delivery service we'd barely used in months. One lazy Sunday, I opened the app to order lunch and there it was, a recent order under her name, logged 2 nights ago while I was working late at the office. 2 entrees, 1 dessert and wine delivered to our home address. I stared at the screen, blinking slowly. I hadn't eaten that meal. She hadn't mentioned it. And we don't drink red wine. She hates it. Says it gives her headaches. But there it was, Merlot. A small detail. Too specific to be random. Too intimate to be innocent. I felt nothing. No jolt. No anger. Just a hollow drop in my chest, like my blood had suddenly turned heavier. I scrolled through the receipt again, eyes moving over the timestamp, the items, the delivery note she had added. Leave at door, don't ring bell. That wasn't a mistake. That was intentional. That was routine. Someone else had been here, comfortably, while I was gone. Someone who knew not to press the doorbell. And she knew it too, knew enough to prepare for it. I closed the app, set my phone down, and sat at the kitchen counter with a glass of water, staring at the granite surface as if it might crack open and offer an explanation. But there was none. Just numbers, time, behavior. Cold evidence with no room for denial. She came home an hour later with her gym bag slung over one shoulder and a smoothie in hand, wearing that same faint smile she'd perfected. Relaxed, effortless, like life was easy. I asked her casually if she'd eaten at home this week. She didn't flinch. "No, I grabbed something after yoga on Tuesday," she said, sipping through a straw, not meeting my eyes. I nodded. "Cool. Just checking." And that was it. That was the last time I asked. Because I didn't need answers anymore. I already had them. I watched her the rest of that evening like a scientist watches a lab rat. Detached, analytical, dissecting every movement. I saw how easily she slid into comfort. How well-rehearsed the act had become. I stopped hearing her words. I started hearing the space between them. The way she over-explained. The way she forgot what day it was. The way she laughed just a little too long at nothing. Everything about her had become frictionless. No conflict, no mistakes, no arguments. And that was the tell. Real couples fight. They bump. They bruise. But she was all smooth edges now, like someone trying not to touch a tripwire. She was managing me, micromanaging her image, and failing. Because the smallest detail, the whine, was too surgical. It cut through the last layer of doubt like a scalpel. I didn't feel betrayed. I felt enlightened. The mask had dropped, and all I could see was the woman underneath. Meticulous, confident, and stupid enough to think I wouldn't notice. She had built her affair like a parallel life, tucked inside the folds of the ordinary. She didn't expect me to find the overlap. But I had. And now everything had changed. That night, I lay beside her while she slept. If she even was. Her breathing was shallow, uneven. She was facing away as usual. I stared at the ceiling and thought about what kind of man I wanted to be. Not the kind who begs. Not the kind who yells. The kind who waits. Who studies. Who dismantles from the inside. I knew she thought she had the upper hand. She thought I was too distracted, too trusting. But she'd made one critical error. She forgot who she was lying to. And now I wasn't her husband anymore. I was the architect of her reckoning. The war had already started. She just hadn't heard the first shot yet. It happened in the kitchen. The same place where I'd first seen the receipt, where I'd sat still as a sniper deciding how the war would begin. I didn't plan for it to explode there, but some scenes write themselves. She walked in from her yoga session, wearing that same smug serenity like nothing in the world could touch her. I had already laid the trap, a quiet dinner waiting, a glass of her favorite wine poured. She paused when she saw the setting, confused. "What's the occasion?" she asked, setting down her gym bag. I smiled, calm, steady. "Just thought we should talk." That was all I said. She sat slowly, studying me. Then came her first move. "If this is about the schedule stuff, me not being home, I told you I need space for myself. I've been clear about that." Her voice had that therapist tone, the one she used when she wanted to control the tempo. "This isn't about space," I replied, my voice even. "It's about secrets." Her eyes flickered, just for a second, and I knew she was scrambling already. "What are you talking about?" she said, reaching for her wine too quickly. "Don't do that," I said flat. "Don't act like you don't know." She leaned back, arms crossed. "If you're accusing me of something, just say it. I'm not playing games." I nodded. "Okay, Tuesday night. You ordered food for two. Pasta, dessert, and a bottle of Merlot. We don't drink Merlot. You hate it. I was at the office. So tell me, who was here?" Silence. Not the kind that admits guilt, but the kind that calculates a pivot. "You checked my delivery history?" she said, tone sharpening. "Seriously? That's where we are now." "No," I said. "Where we are now is the place where your lies have run out of hallway." She laughed short, sharp. "You're being paranoid. You're spiraling. I told you I've been focused on my growth. You're just not keeping up." "Don't mistake quiet for weakness," I said, leaning forward. "I've been watching every step you take for weeks. I've seen the phone calls, the way your stories don't line up, the receipts, the voice message. You've been sloppy. And arrogant. Her face froze. You went through my phone? Didn't have to. You left the evidence everywhere. You thought you were too clever to get caught. That's the mistake cheaters always make. They think attention means suspicion. But I wasn't suspicious. I was sure. Every day more sure. She stood up, pacing now. Okay, fine. I've been seeing someone. Are you happy now? Maybe if you were a little more present, if you actually listened to me instead of staring through me, we wouldn't be here. I shook my head slowly. There it is. The guilt shift. Classic. You didn't cheat because I failed you. You cheated because it was easy. Because you're addicted to attention. And because you thought you'd never be caught. You're not deep. You're just predictable. Her mouth opened, but I didn't give her the chance. I kept going. You built a second life inside her home. You told another man when it was safe to come here. You served him dinner in our kitchen. You replaced me, then smiled in my face like you were still mine. That's not growth. That's rot. Her face started to crack. You don't understand how lonely I've been, how disconnected I've felt. You don't get to weaponize loneliness, I cut in. You were never alone. I was here. You just didn't want me. You wanted someone who didn't know the real you. Someone you could control with fake smiles and shallow charm. You've been performing love, not living it. She moved to speak again, but her voice broke halfway through. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Yes, you did, I said, softer now. You didn't just cheat. You planned it. You lied on purpose. You coordinated his visits. You edited yourself around me so I wouldn't notice. That's not a mistake. That's a system. Her hands were shaking now, eyes wet, face pale. I didn't want to hurt you, she whispered. You wanted not to get caught, I replied. You just failed. And now you want sympathy. But the woman I loved would never have done this. And whoever you are now, you're not even sorry. You're just exposed. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. But I hadn't raised my voice once. She started to cry, not the loud kind. The hollow, breathless kind. The unraveling had begun. But I didn't move. Didn't touch her. Didn't leave. I just stood there, watching her crumble under the weight of her own performance, stripped bare of excuses, soaked in the silence of a truth too ugly to outrun. She looked at me, desperate, like maybe I'd say something, anything that would give her a way back. But I didn't. I watched. That was the final blow. She didn't cry at first, she calculated. Like maybe if she changed the rhythm, I'd lose my footing. You're overreacting, she said, voice shaky but defiant, like the weight of everything I laid bare could be rewritten by sheer audacity. You're not so perfect either, she added a moment later, scanning my face for a crack. I didn't give her one. She started pacing, touching things that didn't matter, the back of a chair, the stem of a wineglass, as if grounding herself in the room might make the truth go away. This doesn't mean I didn't love you, she said, softer now, trying to twist the knife in reverse. You'll never find someone who loves you like I did. That was when I spoke, quiet and steady. If this is what your love looks like, I hope I never do. Her mouth twitched, but I didn't stop. You loved the version of me who made you feel superior. You didn't love me. You loved control. An audience. A fallback. And when I stopped applauding, you found someone dumber to clap for you. She shook her head, eyes glossing over, but the tears weren't real yet. She was still trying to find a lever, any switch that would let her pull me back into the game she thought she was winning. You think you're so much better than me, she said, desperate now. You think this gives you the moral high ground? No, I said, flat. It just makes you smaller. And it makes me free. Her face cracked at that, real this time. She stepped closer like proximity could erase what she'd done. You don't understand how alone I felt. I tried to tell you. You just kept drifting. I didn't know how to reach you anymore. I stared at her for a long second. You didn't try to reach me. You replaced me. Quietly. Strategically. You wanted the comfort of a home with the thrill of a secret. You used my trust as your cover. Her lips parted like she wanted to object, but nothing came. Because there was nothing left to say. She turned her back, wiped at her face, then spun around with a sudden burst of anger, all mask now stripped away. You think walking away makes you strong? You think silence makes you some kind of hero? I looked her dead in the eye. No. But it makes me done. And that's what terrifies you. She broke then, not loud, not theatrical. Just a slow, sinking collapse into the chair behind her, like her body couldn't hold up the weight of being seen anymore. Around us, the world was still turning. A neighbor's dog barked in the distance. A car drove by. The silence between us was thick, undeniable, and public. She realized in that moment she was no longer in control of the narrative. Her performance had no audience. Her justifications had no echo. She reached across the table, fingertips brushing the surface like reaching for something long gone. I can fix this, she whispered. Just don't give up on us yet. We've built too much. Doesn't that mean anything to you? My reply was quiet, but it cut with surgical clarity. It used to, until I realized I was building it alone. That's when the sob finally came, low and shaking from somewhere deep. She folded in on herself, not crying for me, not really. Crying for the version of herself that only existed in my forgiveness. She knew I wasn't going to give it. And that was the death blow. Because for her, the affair was never about love, it was about control. About options. And now all her options were gone. The mask was off, the game was over, and I wasn't playing anymore. I stood slowly, calmly, while she stared up at me like maybe I'd say one last thing. Offer one last rope. I didn't. I just looked at her, the real her, for the first time. Then I walked past her, quiet as snowfall, and left the room full of her wreckage. My silence echoed louder than any scream. And she knew it would follow her long after I was gone. It's strange, the way ghosts move. Not with chains or whispers, but with phone calls from numbers you haven't blocked yet. I got the first one 3 months after I left. Just a missed call at 2:14 a.m. followed by a message, "I still love you." No explanation. No apology. Just those 4 words floating like wreckage from a ship she swore would never sink. I didn't reply. I didn't even feel tempted. She wasn't the woman I once loved. She was just a voice echoing from somewhere I burned to the ground. The next one came 2 weeks later. A voicemail this time. She sounded broken. Not crying, used up. "We were soulmates," she said, like saying it out loud could make it true again. You know we were. But I didn't know that. Not anymore. Because soulmates don't lie through smiles. They don't lock doors in their own home. They don't let someone else brush their teeth beside them while telling you they're finding themselves. She had spent years building an image, the smart, grounded woman with opinions and a wine collection, the one everyone admired. That version of her was gone now. I heard through mutual friends, the ones who still talk to me, that she lost her job. Something about her behavior, inappropriate use of company resources, lack of focus. The kind of thing they whisper about in office kitchens when no one's looking. Her circle shrank next. Friends stopped inviting her. No one wanted to explain to their spouses why they were still close with the one who cheated and played house. Her lover? Long gone. I imagine he walked away the moment he realized she wasn't the fantasy she sold him. He saw what I saw, too late, a woman who could never love anyone she didn't control. Her family? They knew something happened. She tried spinning it her way, I'm sure. But lies rot fast when they're untethered from charm. They stopped calling. Holidays came and went, and she spent them alone. Every so often, she'd reach out. New tactics each time. Once, she dropped by the cafe I used to write at, wearing her old coat like it might bring back the past. She looked thinner, worn. The confidence was gone, replaced with that frantic look people get when they realize they've made themselves unrecognizable. She walked up to me, smiling nervously, eyes already wet. "Please, just talk to me." I looked at her, really looked. Not with rage. Not even with sadness. Just the way you'd look at a stranger who asked for directions in a town you left behind. "There's nothing left to say," I told her. Not cruel. Not loud. Just honest. You broke the version of me who needed you. He's gone. I don't miss him. And I don't miss you. She just stood there silent, like someone trying to step back into a room that no longer existed. And then she walked away, slower than she'd arrived, like each step weighed more than the last. I haven't heard from her since. Maybe she finally understood. Maybe she still doesn't. It doesn't matter. Her story ended the day she mistook my silence for weakness. And I ended it the day I realized silence was the strongest answer I could give. I don't hate her. I don't want revenge. I don't need closure. I already got it the moment I saw who she really was without the mask, and more importantly, who I became without her shadow over my life. The man she betrayed is gone. The one telling the story is free. Thanks for listening. Let me know where you're watching from and what you would have done if it were your wife.